Good afternoon, everyone. We will be starting the webinar in 2 minutes at 2:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Good afternoon. We will now begin the Health and Human Services SBIR Contract RFP Informational Webinar hosted by the NIH SBIR STTR Program Coordinator, Dr. Matthew Portnoy. After Matt's introduction, you will hear from SBIR program officers from the National Center for Advancing Translational Sciences, the National Cancer Institute, National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute, National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism, National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, the National Institute on Drug Abuse, and the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Please submit any questions you may have using the question pane in your GoToWebinar control panel. We will address your questions once presentations are complete. You may access the slides from the webinar using the Handouts pane, and this webinar recording, transcript, and slides will be posted on our website within the next week. Without further ado, Dr. Matt Portnoy.
Thank you very much, Patty, and good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. Matt Portnoy, and I am the NIH and HHS SBIR Program Manager. Today, we'll be spending a full 2 hours talking about our recently released SBIR contract request for proposals and going through all of the topics. We should have plenty of time at the end for your questions, and so you can send them into the box now or wait till the end, and we will get to as many as we can. And so with that, let us begin the webinar. What we will cover today will be an overview of the SBIR program and this contract request for proposals. We'll talk about some of the differences between SBIR contracts and our SBIR grant program, which many of you may be familiar with. We'll talk about the deadlines for submitting your questions and answers and for submitting your proposals. We'll talk about the electronic proposal submission process with our eCPS system, or electronic contract proposal system. We will also then go through each of the topics we have in our solicitation, and program managers from all of the participating components will spend time running through their topics, and then we'll close and do questions. So by way of general overview, the SBIR and STTR programs are federal-wide programs that are located in 11 federal agencies, all shown on this slide. The numbers on this slide are shown for fiscal year 16, and in fiscal year 16, there was $2.5 billion in SBIR and $361 million in STTR. We're not going to be talking about STTR today. This solicitation is only for small business innovation research. As you can see, both on the pie chart on the left and in the chart on the right, NIH is the second largest agency. As of fiscal 16, we had a nearly $900 million SBIR and STTR program. And we're the second largest, around 1/3 of overall program by dollars. These charts are also color-coded by agencies that do grants versus contracts. Green is grants, blue is contracts. NIH is hatched, mostly green, with a little bit of blue because we mostly do grants. Around 90% of our awards are in grants, around 10% are in contracts. And so this just gives you a depth of what is available out there. There are other agencies, and other agencies also do healthcare-related technologies. So we would encourage you to go to SBIR.gov, the central website for SBIR in the government, and look around all the other agencies. Within the Department of Health and Human Services, these are this current year's budgets. NIH has an SBIR budget of $941 million, and CDC a little under $10 million, and these are the current year's budgets. That is higher, as you might have noticed, from fiscal 16. And so the contracts submitted under this solicitation will be awarded next fiscal year, fiscal 19, and our overall budgets will depend on what we get next year. By a brief introduction, SBIR, Small Business Innovation and Research, is a phased research program. Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3. This is not to be confused with clinical trial phases. We will talk a little bit about clinical trials a little bit later on, but these are the phases of SBIR are not related to phases of clinical trials, although we do fund clinical trials in SBIR. So Phase 1 SBIR is a short feasibility study, around $150,000 to $200,000, 6 months to 1 year. Phase 2 follows onto a Phase 1 and is a full R&D effort for 2 years, typically $1 to $2 million, depending on the institute and the budget available. NIH does a second full competing Phase 2. We call this a Phase 2B. That is up to 3 years, up to $1 million per year. The third phase of SBIR is called Phase 3, of the commercialization stage. We are not allowed to use SBIR's TTR dollars to fund Phase 3. This is typically where you're going to be looking out for angel investment, venture capital investment, strategic partnerships, etc. NIH and CDC are not going to be the customers generally for your technology. So we are looking for you to commercialize your technology into the open marketplace. And so the program is a Phase 1 and Phase 2 program, and we'll talk a little bit about that when we get to the contract itself, the RFP and the requirements. This particular contract opportunity does not offer second Phase 2s or Phase 2Bs. All general information about our programs can be found at our website, sbir.nih.gov, and a variety of resources in the blue menu on the left. Particularly pay attention to the funding tab on the left and the resources page. Some brief comments on our other grant opportunities. We currently have many grant solicitations open. Our parent omnibus grant solicitations are open, and they're shown on this slide. Our main SBIR one is PA 18574, and STTR is PA 18575 that do not allow clinical trials, and the ones that do allow clinical trials, PA 18-573, PA 18-576. These are 3 times a year for our grants, and we have an upcoming deadline in a few weeks on September 5th, just to inform you that there are many other opportunities to apply to us. But this is not the topic of this particular webinar. This is the topic of it, our contracts. In addition to all of our grant solicitations, and in addition to those 4, there are 80 some odd other solicitations out there from NIH with different institutes and different SBIR priorities and STTR priorities. But we're here today to talk about our contract solicitation, or request for proposals, RFP. This is a once a year solicitation with 1 due date, very different than our typical grants. We released this in July of this year. It has a due date, which I'll talk about now and over again, of October 22nd, 2018, 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. This is a Monday. October 22nd, 2018, 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. When you go to our SBIR page and you do the funding tab, you will see these set of links here. These are the PHS 2019-1 PDF and the Word document. These are identical in every way. It's just there for you to have in whatever format works best for you. Additionally, we released a NIH guide notice below this, NOT-OD-18-209, that has a lot of the details I'll be talking about today and links to all the resources as well. I encourage you, if you don't already, to subscribe to the weekly email from our NIH Guide for Grants and Contracts so you don't miss any SBIR funding opportunities that we have. So we have placed this contract RFP and resources in several different places so that you can find it wherever you happen to be on the internet. It's all identical. And so the main source of it is our own website, sbir.nih.gov/funding in the contract section. And you saw this screenshot before. It has the two identical, the PDF and the Word document. These are identical, and you can download these from here. If you click the link at the bottom that says contract proposal forms, it will take you to this other page. This is a central NIH website called grants.nih.gov. We cross-post the solicitation here as well. You can see by the red arrows. Additionally, on this page below that, we have links to all of the appendices. There are the appendices are how you do the bulk of filling out your proposal for us, and also all of these appendices are linked in the RFP itself in Part 13, which we'll talk about in a minute. So you don't necessarily have to go to this page to find the appendices. They are linked within the RFP in the back as well, but all of the links are here as well. A final page, a final place you can get the solicitation is in the federal-wide portal called FedBizOps, or FBO. FedBizOps is a government-wide portal where all contracting opportunities are posted, whether it be service contracts or R&D contracts. This is particular for R&D contracts, and we have the solicitation and any amendments posted here, as well as the basic information. And you can, you don't have to go to all of these places. You can go to any of these places and find the solicitation and all of the things you will need to apply. When you click into the solicitation, it should look like this. Be sure that you are looking at the correct one and you haven't found last year's or prior year's on the internet. It should say Program Solicitation 2019-1 and have a due date of October 22nd, 2018. 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. This is very different from our grants, where the deadline is 5 p.m. your time zone of your company. The contracts are one due date, one timeline, 5 p.m. our time on the East Coast. I want to draw your attention to an important amendment we issued. We amend the solicitation as needed throughout. We'll talk about that. But we did issue an amendment 2 weeks ago on August 6th called Amendment 1. Most importantly, this amendment added a new topic to the solicitation. And so we added a new topic 12 for the Centers for Disease Control, Center for Global Health, CGH. And that topic 12 is called Improving Global Health with a Novel Handheld Counterfeit Drug Identifier. We have already updated all of the Word and PDFs with this. So if you're downloading anything from August 6th on, those PDFs of the RFP, then you will get the solicitation with the new topic in it. Additionally, the amendment is posted on FedBizOps at the link shown near the bottom. The amendment in and of itself is not that interesting a document. It's a one-pager explaining what we did. And lastly, we did amend the title of an NCI topic 382. We just added the word biology in red there at the end. We had omitted that by accident the first time, but there's nothing substantive changed other than making sure that word biology is in the topic title. That is Amendment 1. And so any PDF you download of our solicitation will have everything in it. And so now I want to walk through briefly the structure of the RFP. There are 13 parts of it. They're all shown on this slide. And we're going to highlight on the next several slides some of the important areas for you to pay attention to. But I just want to, there's an introduction section, a program description section, definitions, some proposal fundamentals, contract requirements. Chapter 6 is the method of evaluation. This is where you'll find the review criteria and percent weights. 7 is how you submit your proposal. And 8 is the instructions on how to fill out all the different parts of it. 9 will tell you, section 9 will tell you how many awards each topic is expected to get and what the review timelines are. Section 10 is incredibly important. That is your main point of contact. I'll say this over and over again as well. Your main point of contact for any questions will be the contracting officer, all of which are listed in section 10. Section 11 is the administrative section. Section 12 is the bulk of the RFP. This is a topic by topic listing of each of the topics we have. Each topic is typically 1 to 2 pages. It goes on quite a bit, but it's very detailed. You'll find this much more detailed than you will a grant topical bullet. It talks about the deliverables, phase 1 and phase 2, and exactly what the institute is looking for in their topic. And then chapter 13 at the end is a listing of all of those appendices and hyperlinks to everything. So my number one piece of advice to you, if you take nothing away from this, is whether you like it or not, you should read the RFP several times. It's 150 pages, we know this, but it has an incredible amount of important information and your instructions and everything you need to do. It is essentially a standalone document for you where you can use that and then prepare your proposal. We're always happy to answer questions for you, but most of the time we'll be able to point back to a place in the RFP where your question can be answered. Section 2.7 covers the parts of the agency that have topics. This is not like our omnibus grant solicitation where all of our institutes and centers are on it, plus CDC and FDA. Only 6 of our institutes, and Patty alluded to them at the beginning, NCATS, NCI, NHLBI, NIAAA, NIAID, and NIDA, NIDA, those 6 NIH institutes have topics in the solicitation. From the CDC, we have their Center for Global Health, National Center for Chronic Disease Prevention and Health Promotion, National Center for Emerging Zoonotic and Infectious Diseases, National Center for Environmental Health, and Office of Public Health Preparedness and Response. These parts of CDC have topics in the solicitation. Which institutes and what parts of CDC participate from year to year does change. And so you want to keep an eye on this every year to see what's available and if there's something that exactly hits what you're doing. As I alluded to earlier, we only accept certain types of proposals in this solicitation, and in the detailed topic listings in section 12 and this table in section 1 summarizes it. So we are only allowing a phase 1 or a fast track. Phase 2s will come after the fact. If you win a phase 1 or a fast track, and you'll be given instructions on those if needed. Fast track is a combination phase 1 and 2. You will see some topics like NCI topic 394 will accept phase 1 proposals and fast tracks, so you can submit either. But some will only accept one or the other. If we look down at NIAAA topic 016, you will see they are not accepting phase 1 proposals at all. They only want fast tracks. So if you submit a phase 1 only proposal to NIAAA topic 16, that will be rejected without review. Likewise, if you look down one, NIAAA topic 17 only wants phase 1 proposals and will not accept fast tracks. So be very clear on what type of proposal, phase 1 or fast track, is accepted by the Institute. It's listed in this table up front, and it's listed within each topic section. If you have any questions about that, you definitely want to speak to the contracting officer. We had for several years an option for some topics to allow direct to phase 2. This solicitation will not accept direct phase 2 proposals. It did not last year, and it will not this year. The congressional authority for direct phase 2 has expired. Now, I made these slides 2 weeks ago, so that authority was actually passed by Congress last week or this week. However, that reinstatement of the direct phase 2 authority does not affect this solicitation. We will not accept direct phase 2 proposals in this solicitation. I'm sure we will look at that for next year's solicitation, but this solicitation will not accept direct phase 2 proposals. If you submit one, we will not accept your application and it will not go to review. Now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Christy Canaria from the National Cancer Institute to explain the Innovation Core or I-Core NIH phase 1 option. So Patty, please unmute Ashim. Christy, go ahead, please.
Thank you. So yes, this is Christy Canaria from NCI. I help oversee the I-Core NIH program, which is an 8-week entrepreneurial training program focused on educating researchers and technologists on how to translate their technologies from lab into the marketplace. And this program is designed to provide 3-member project teams with access to instruction and mentoring in order to help accelerate the translation of their technologies currently being developed with NIH and CDC, SBIR, and STTR funding. So referring to slide 19, there is an opportunity for offerers to indicate their interest in participating in a future cohort offering of I-Core at NIH. Not all of the awarding components are participating from the solicitation, but all 6 of the NIH components are. However, only one NCEZID from CDC is participating for this I-Core at NIH option. So if you're responding to a topic from one of those participating components, then you may indicate your interest in I-Corps by submitting a separate Appendix C contract pricing proposal in your business proposal. Be sure to specify I-Corps in the title of the proposal field. That separate budget must not exceed $50,000 in total direct costs, and note that no indirect costs are allowed. So within that $50K budget, $20K must be set aside for course registration fees. Interested parties can expect to spend at least 20 hours per week per person on I-Corps activities over the 8-week course period. In slide 20, this slide highlights the course format. So the curriculum, which was first adopted by the National Science Foundation for I-Corps, we have further tailored it for the needs of life science technologies and biotech companies. This course is comprised of a 3-day kickoff workshop, followed by 6 online webinar classes, and finally a 2-day lessons learned closing workshop. And attendance at all workshops and classes is required for teams accepted into I-Corps. To facilitate the course, 6 core I-Corps instructors are trained to teach the curriculum in 3 separate tracks. Those tracks are designed to address the common concerns among life science technologies, and so namely those are the therapeutics track, the diagnostics/research tools and digital health track, and finally the medical devices track. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christy. So moving on, section 8.3 of the solicitation talks about what constitutes a complete phase 1 submission. It is very important that you send in everything that is required because we will not be able to review or look at your proposal if you don't send in everything that is required. So the technical proposal is essentially the meat of the proposal, and the business proposal is the budget. So under the technical proposal, you have to submit what's called the technical element. That includes the proposal, cover sheet, Appendix A, a table of contents which you make to describe the contents, the abstract for phase 1, which is Appendix B, and the content of the technical element. Content of the technical element is the vast bulk of the material, and the rest of section 8 describes what goes in there. A new item under the technical proposal is item 2, the human subjects in clinical trials information forum and attachments. This is a separate upload. This is entirely new this year from last year as NIH implemented clinical trials policy, which I'll get to in a moment. But you will now upload a separate PDF with the human subjects form in it, which is essentially uploading Appendix H2, and if applicable, H3 goes inside H2. The business proposal is essentially the budget. That includes item 3, the pricing proposal, which is Appendix C, the SBIR application, venture capital certification form, if you happen to be a company that is owned by venture capitals firms. Item 5 is proof of registration, the SBA company registry, which contains the SBC control ID. And item 6, summary of related activities. All of these things are required per phase 1 proposal. Section 8.4 talks about phase 2 proposals. It's essentially identical, but you have to include all the specific stuff for phase 2, including the technical proposal cover sheet, Appendix D, table of contents, Appendix B, the abstract, content of technical work, draft statement of work, Appendix E, proposal summary and data record, Appendix G, and the human subjects form for item 2. The business proposal is the same, items 3, 4, 5, and 6. If you're doing work with human subjects or vertebrate animals, I want to draw your attention to other sections of the proposal. Section 3 talks about definitions. Section 5.2 and 5.3 talks about care of vertebrate animals. 5.4, 5.5, research involving human subjects. 5.6, inclusion of women, minorities, and children in clinical research if you're doing human subjects research. 5.7, good clinical practice training. 5.8, clinical trial registration and results information submission. And 5.9, single institutional review board, or SIRB. And section 5.8 and 5.9 are new this year. So if you come back to us from year to year with our contract solicitation, there is new material to make sure you pay attention to. Instructions on what you do to fill out if you're doing vertebrate animal human subjects work. Section 8.10 is the instructions for research involving vertebrate animals. Section 8.12 is the Human Subjects and Clinical Trials Information Form and Instructions. This form is required for every single submission, even if you are not doing human subject work or clinical trials. Again, the Human Subjects Clinical Trial Form is required even if you are not doing work related to that. And I'll show you that in a minute. You're going to check no, no, and upload the form. But you are required to send in this form one way or the other. So with this, we have 3 new appendices. Appendix H1 are the instructions on how to fill out the Human Subjects and Clinical Trials Information Form. Appendix H1 is not a form, it's just the list of instructions on how to do it. The key one is Appendix H2. That is the Human Subjects and Clinical Trials Information Form. This form is included in every proposal. Appendix H3 is a study record. If your project involves human subject, even if the project is exempt from federal regulations, you need to have a study record, at least one. And that study record, Appendix H3, will get uploaded into Appendix H2 in the PDF, and overall Appendix H2 gets submitted. But you know, H3 isn't necessarily required if you're not doing certain things, but H2 is always required. So we already have some questions in the box. I'm going to talk about the NIH definition of a clinical trial. This definition dates back to 2014. I'm going to read the definition, but then we're going to just talk a little bit about some of the words in it. So NIH's definition is a research study in which one or more human subjects are prospectively assigned to one or more interventions, which may include placebo or other control, to evaluate the effects of those interventions on health-related biomedical or behavioral outcomes. In this chart, some of these words are highlighted in blue, and the definitions are below. So prospectively assigned is a predefined process like randomization, specifically in an approved protocol that stipulates the assignment of research subjects, either individually or in clusters, to one or more arms of a clinical trial. An intervention is a manipulation of the subject or subject's environment for the purpose of modifying one or more health-related biomedical, biobehavioral processes or endpoints. And then health-related biomedical or behavioral outcome is a pre-specified goal or condition that reflects the effect of one or more interventions on human subjects' biomedical or behavioral status or quality of life. There's a link at the bottom of this slide to get you more information. This definition probably affects more of you than you realize. And we have for you a simple tool of 4 questions called the decision tree to know if your study is a clinical trial. And we have a link to it here. If you can answer yes to each of these 4 questions, 4 yeses, then you are doing an NIH-defined clinical trial. You may not think so, you may not realize it, you may not like it, but you are doing an NIH clinical trial if you say yes, 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 yes. These are yes/no questions. These are binary. There is no maybe. It's either yes or no. Does your study involve one or more human participants? Does your study prospectively assign human participants to one or more interventions? Does your study intend to evaluate the effect of an intervention on human participants? Does your study have a health-related biomedical or behavioral outcome? 4 yeses, it's an NIH-defined clinical trial. 1 or more no's, it is not. You don't have to fill out the form, but you need to at least indicate no on it. And so a link to this decision tree is here. And in fact, a link to all of the NIH clinical trial requirements for grants and contracts, and all of our tools and resources are here on this page. And you can probably Google NIH clinical trial and probably get here pretty close to it. So now let's take a look at the top of the Human Subjects and Clinical Trial Form. It's a relatively easy to use, slick form. It's a PDF, but it has a lot of controls in it to guide you through it. Basically, when you open it up, you will see this, and you will see the yellow box that I see here. Are human subjects involved, yes or no? If you click yes, then you'll have to go fill out kind of the rest of the form and keep going. If you click no, then most of this will gray out, and it'll go down here to if no to human subjects, does the proposed research involve human specimens and or data? If you click no there, then you're done. No, then no, you save it off and you upload it. If you click yes, then you've got to go fill out all the rest of it and fill out the information as described. And that study record, that attachment, Appendix H3, goes near the bottom. At the bottom of this screenshot says study record. Below that is where you would upload the study record appendices. But if you go through the process and you go through our decision tree and you're clearly not doing human subjects research or clinical trials, you open up this form, you check no to human subjects involved, no to human specimens, save it off, and you're done. Otherwise, you fill it out, follow the instructions, and provide the information that we require. Page limits. And so this is vitally important. You basically have to stick to what we tell you, otherwise we'll turn your proposal away or won't review past the page limit. So phase 1 technical proposals, item 1 shall not exceed 50 pages. That's for everything that's described. And you'll have to read the section 8 and you'll see what everything you have to submit, but it can't exceed 50 pages, 50. If you're familiar with our grants process, you know that you get a 1-page specific aim and a 6-page research strategy for phase 1. In this contract, we don't dictate how long any of those things need to be, but you have to just make sure everything is 50 pages. That includes bios and letters and all those types of things as well. If you're submitting a phase 2 proposal or a phase 2 as part of a fast track, the total page limit is 150 pages for the technical element. The fast track, a fast track is a complete phase 1 and a complete phase 2. Unlike in our grants, where we ask you to combine everything in one, a fast track is a 50-page application, phase 1, and a 150-page phase 2, uploaded in tandem, and I'll show you that. What is new for this year, this new human subjects and clinical trials form and any information you provide within are excluded from these page limits. They do not count against you. And that's because there's a separate box to upload the human subject form for every single topic. And so the human subjects clinical trial form and any information in its attachments are excluded from these page limits. The instructions will tell you to do single-sided, single-spaced pages. You have to do it in a font we can read. You can't go really small. It's inclusive of everything: cover sheets, tables, resumes, references, graphics, the whole deal. No exclusion to the page limits. Pages in excess of these page limits will be removed and will not be considered or evaluated. So please, please make sure that you stick to the page limits. That's kind of the discussion of the overview. Now we'll roll quickly through the next section so we can get to the meat of the topics. Differences from grants. And this we can roll through pretty quickly. You may be familiar with grants, you may not. You may be familiar with contracts, you may not. But we do a lot of grants here at NIH. Most people know us for the grants. Contracts are an acquisition mechanism. Grants are an assistance mechanism. Contracts, we're acquiring something from you. We're not buying your product. We're not in that business. We're acquiring the R&D from you. Contracts follow the Federal Acquisition Regulations, or the FAR, and SBIR Policy Directive, which comes out of SBA. Grants follow HHS and NIH grants policy regulations and the policy directive. Contracts are not investigator initiated. We do not want your ideas on what you think we would like. We want you to respond specifically to a defined topic in our solicitation. But grants will accept that, as you know. We'll accept any good investigator-initiated life science idea that can develop a product that will improve patient public health. But you go to grants for that. Contracts tend to have narrow, well-defined topics with deliverables identified. Grants can either be broad or narrow topics. The language or lingo is different. In contracts, we talk about requests for proposals, RFP. Offerer, that's you. When you're applying to us, if you get the contract, you are then our contractor. And what you send to us is a proposal. In grants, you might have heard things called program announcements, PAs, PARs, requests for applications, RFAs. You are the applicant. If we make an award to you, you are our grantee, and you send us an application. I realize these are kind of semantic things, but we have some different terminology. Importantly, on the next one, in a contract, your only allowable contact is with the contracting officer listed in section 10. You cannot call or email your program officer during the contracting process. They will and should refer you straight away to the contracting officer for any questions. In grants, as you know, you can call or email the program officer anytime for anything. Once you get a contract award, then you can able to speak to the program officer or contracting officer representative more freely, but not before then. In contracts, we submit your proposals get submitted through the Electronic Contract Proposal Submission System, ECPS. We used to do this on paper, but we haven't done it for a couple of years. Grants, use grants.gov, ERA Commons, the SF424 forms. None of this is relevant for contracts. Do you need to use some of these things you've heard of for contracts? Do you have to still register at the SBA company registry? Yes, for all offerers, and submit to us that PDF. Do you have to fill out a VCOC certification, venture capital? Yes, if it's applicable to you. Do you have to have a DUNS number? Yes. Do you have to be registered in the System for Award Management, SAM? Yes, but at time of award, not to submit to us. This is a difference for grants. Do you have to work with grants.gov? No. Do you have to work with ERA Commons? No. Do you have to use the ECPS system? Yes. You have to do that to submit your proposals to us. So that's the differences. Now we're going to talk about some deadlines. This is incredibly important. So reminder, and I've said it again, and if I keep saying it over and over, it must be important. Your only contact is with the contracting officer listed in Section 10. Your questions must be submitted in writing email to that contracting officer. The deadline for asking questions to the contracting officer is in 2 weeks on August 31st, close of business. So Friday, August 31st, close of business. We will take all of your questions and the answers and develop an amendment to the solicitation, and a few weeks later in early September, at least 4 weeks before the deadline, we will publish publicly a list of questions and answers for all to see. This is necessary due to contracting regulations and for a fair and open competition. So yes, any question you ask and the answer that is provided will be posted to the public. Now, if you ask very specific technical questions, we may or may not be able to answer them. But any questions that do get answered will typically be posted for the public to all to see. And this is very typical and normal in contract solicitations. Any questions you ask of the contracting officer after August 31st will be addressed at the discretion of the contracting officer. They will frequently refer you to the amendment with the questions and answers in that. Deadline, Monday, October 22nd, 2018, 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Electronic submission must be complete, no paper submissions. What do I mean by complete? I mean, if at 4:59 p.m. you hit submit and the little circle is spinning round and round and round, and it doesn't stop spinning until 5:01 p.m., you're late. So, and the system will not accept your submission. So submit hours or days early. If you submit, days early and you wanna cancel it out and update your submission, you can do that. The demo we're going to talk about will explain how to do that. But do not wait until 4:55 p.m. and hit submit. Other people will be too. It may or may not spin and delay as it processes lots of things at the same time. And you want to have your timestamp email and notification prior to that deadline, which is your verification that we send to you. I can't emphasize that enough. So now we're going to talk about the electronic proposal submission. How to do this is all written in Section 7.4. You will use the Electronic Contract Proposal Submission System, ECPS. The link is shown here, and we're going to talk a little bit about how to register for the system and then show a demo, a YouTube video of how to work with the system. Importantly, the registration process has changed and is much simpler now. So if you used the system prior, you don't have to do anything special. You used to have an ERA Commons account or log in with your universal login. Now it's all done with a one-time PIN. And so when you go to the ECPS screen from before, you will follow the red arrow that I showed here, register for an ECPS account, take you to the next screen, press the red register here button. You'll fill out this basic information, your email, your name, your phone, your company, your address. You'll put in the code that you're not a robot and hit continue. You will be sent to that email an auto-generated PIN number. You will then use that PIN and your email address to log in. So you'll go back here, you'll enter your email address and enter your PIN, and then you'll be into the system. The PIN refreshes every 8 hours. So if you come back tomorrow or the next day, you request a new PIN. But you don't have any passwords to remember. You just generate a PIN every time you need to go into the system for your email address. And so that should be relatively easy and simpler. If you have questions or problems, you press the yellow button for admin and you will get help from the ECPS team. So now what I'm going to do is flip over to a 10-minute YouTube video that is linked here and is publicly available that explains how to use the ECPS system. And this video was generously put together by Mike Kapsilis of the ECPS team.
Is comprised of introductory information, information on how to register for an account, some frequently asked questions, and the section at the bottom shows the open solicitations which ECPS pulls from FedBizOps. In order to submit a proposal through ECPS, you must have an account. In order to establish an account.
Let me also say before I continue, this video has not been updated for the new registration process. And so just mainly focus in this video on how to upload your files and how to interact with that. The registration process is what I showed on the previous few slides.
You can click here, fill out this short form, hit submit, and the ECPS technical team will turn around your request within a few days, if not sooner. If you already have an NIH login account, an ERA Commons account, or even a Google account, or a federated institution account with one of these institutions listed here, you may use that as your ECPS login. I will show you briefly how the screen changes at the bottom once you log in with your account. On the right-hand section here, we have top frequently asked questions. You can click on any of these and get more information on how to register and how to submit your proposal, which we will go through shortly. We also have links to the frequently asked questions at the top, as well as more details on how to submit your proposal, section about the ECPS in general, and a contact us section where you can send an email for technical questions regarding the site. The section at the bottom portion of ECPS shows currently open solicitations. You can filter out by agency or project from here and by institute. If you do not filter, it will simply show you all the open solicitations currently that are available to receive proposals through ECPS. Under the first column, you'll see a link. This hyperlink takes you to the open solicitation in FedBizOps. If you click on one of these, it will open up the FedBizOps record, where it will take you to the actual open solicitation with the accompanying solicitation and documents. The actual uploading of proposals will be done through the ECPS and not FedBizOps. Once I log in, I will show you how the proposals are uploaded against a particular solicitation. And I'm going to go ahead and log in now. Once one logs in under their established account, they will see submit buttons on the right-hand side of each open solicitation. Once you log in, you will also see my submission history at the top. If you have submitted under this account a previous proposal, you will see the transactional information regarding that proposal. And you will also see the similar FAQs and how to submit instructions that we had seen prior to login. In order to submit a proposal against a particular solicitation, one would hit the submit button. This would open up a new window, and the offerer would enter their proposal name It would verify first that they are in fact submitting the proposal against the correct solicitation here. Your login information is here. And they would enter a proposal name, upload their technical proposal, upload the business proposal, along with the optional Excel spreadsheet with the budget information.
What this video doesn't show, because it hasn't been updated, is that there's another upload for the human subjects and clinical trial form. So that will be another upload that will be listed on the screen.
Then you would hit submit. We'll now go through the process of actually uploading a test proposal. Put in the test proposal name, upload technical proposal, business proposal, and the optional Excel spreadsheet, which will contain the budget information. Should be identical to the numbers, to the budget numbers in the business proposal. You'll notice here the closing date and time, which is also shown on the previous window of the table showing all of the open solicitations. ECPS will accept proposals up until this date and time, to the second. Once that time passes to the second, you will no longer be able to successfully submit a proposal against that particular solicitation. Up until that date and time, you may revise an existing proposal by overwriting the existing technical proposal, and I'll show you how to do that. You may also submit an alternate proposal against a solicitation up until that date and time, and I'll show you how that is done also. Once you've queued up your proposals, your proposal, your technical and business, and your spreadsheet, optional spreadsheet, you would hit submit proposal. The system would show you a message with an automated email sent to the account, to the email with the account that you have registered, verifying that your proposal was successfully submitted. That's very important. You can verify that again through email and through this message right here. You'll also notice that this button now has just changed to update proposal, as you may revise your technical and business proposals by hitting replace and uploading the revised technical or business proposal in its place. ECPS will simply overwrite the previous proposal. It will not keep the initial proposal if you are revising your proposal. You may also submit a new or alternate proposal against the solicitation. Additionally, at the bottom you will see a history log showing when the proposals were sent. Once this window is closed, you will no longer be able to view the actual proposal itself. You will be able to view the history, the proposal history through my submission history, but you will view the transactional information, not the actual document, once it's sent. Now that we have received the message verifying that the proposal went through successfully, we can close out of this window. You'll see that this view is a little bit different now, since we have submitted a proposal against this particular solicitation. We have the option now to revise the submission or submit a new or alternate proposal against that solicitation. Also, under my submission history, now you'll see the transactional information that the proposal was received successfully, the date and time, and which proposal documents were actually received at that date and time. You also have the opportunity here to revise the proposal. If we hit revise, it will take us back to the previous window, and we can revise, we can replace the technical proposal, the business proposal, or the Excel spreadsheet, of course, up until that date and time. You may also submit an alternate proposal against the solicitation. We get a message here asking us to verify. It says you have chosen to submit a new or alternate proposal. If you'd like to revise an existing proposal instead, click cancel and click revise existing proposal under the actions. If you do want to submit a new or alternate proposal, you would hit OK, and it would take you to the same interface we had seen before when we initially submitted the proposal, and you would go through the same process of uploading your alternate proposal. This concludes the training module for the submission of proposals through the ECPS. Again, the Contact Us section of ECPS will take you to an email address. This is only for technical questions related to the site. For questions regarding account information or upload questions. If you have a question regarding the solicitation, you should contact the primary point of contact that is listed in ECPS and also in FedBizOps, in the FedBizOps posting. Thank you very much.
All right.
Welcome to the NIH.
Oh, sorry, there we go. All right. So this is all entirely accurate. It's just that the registration process is a little different, and there'll be a human subjects place to upload. So please keep that in mind. So now after the demo, I just want to highlight a few things before we go over to the ICs to begin their section. Make sure when you're on ECPS, you hit the SBIR flag so you only see the topics. Each topic has its own row. And so here you can see there's 3 NCATS topics and then 2 NCI, and it keeps going till we get through all of them. So you can get rid of the other non-SBIR relevant ones by just turning on the SBIR flag. I want to talk a little bit about naming conventions of your files. It's very important that you name your files clearly and follow our convention so we know what's going on. You may be submitting one proposal, but we're likely getting dozens and dozens, and we need to easily tell them all apart. And so the format is going to be the phase, the name of your company, the institute, and the topic number. So it's always going to be phase 1 underscore your company name underscore either NIAID or NCI or CDC underscore topic, whatever. And so when you're doing the different types of files, and there's really 3 types of files: the technical file, the human subjects clinical trial form, and the business. You're going to use this convention and just calling it technical. So your technical will be phase 1, your company, institute, topic, technical.pdf, human subjects form.pdf, business.pdf, and then business.excel if you choose to also upload the optional Excel. And there's instructions on how to fill out all these in the solicitation. But please make sure you follow the naming convention which we list in the solicitation so we can easily identify your proposal. If you're submitting a fast track, so this is important. You're submitting a fast track. I earlier mentioned you're submitting 2 complete applications. To do that, you need to name them so we can find them appropriately. So for the phase 1 portion of the fast track, you'll just include the word fast track. So you'll call each of the 3 files phase 1, fast track, your company name, institute, topic, technical.pdf, business.pdf. You will upload the phase 1 technical and business and human subjects proposal, hit submit. After that submission, you will click the button that the demo talked about, submit new alternate proposal button, and then you upload in the title, you call it phase 2 fast track, company, institute, topic, and then upload the phase 2 sections of that. And that way we will get your 2 complete parts of your fast track submission. And with that, I am going to take a breather and turn it over to my colleagues at the institutes to start going through their topics. And so we're going to start with NCATS and Lily Portilla. So Patty, you can go ahead and unmute Lily. Lily, can you hear me?
Hi. Yes. Hi, Matt. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lily Portilla, and I'm the Director of Strategic Alliances and the Program Director for the NCATS SBIR CTR program. The next three topics that I'll be talking about are specific to NCATS. The first one is topic 16, synthetic technologies for the advancement of research and therapeutics. We're calling this our START program. We're going to be accepting 1 to 2 phase 1 awards. We will not be accepting any fast track proposals for this topic. And the goal of this topic is to apply synthetic biology to produce and fully characterize both known and novel analogs of naturally occurring compounds, and to increase the diversity of compounds in drug libraries. And we're primarily interested in proposals focused on discovery, isolation, and characterization of non-addictive natural compounds to treat pain, opioid abuse disorders, and overdose. This is a small excerpt of the phase 1 activities and expected deliverables. We, of course, encourage you to look at the topic listed in FedBizOps and to see the specifics that we're requiring for deliverables for this topic. Could you advance the slide, please? The next topic, topic 17, universal medium blood mimetic for use in integrated organs on a chip. We are anticipating offering up to 2 awards, phase 1 awards. Again, we are not accepting any fast track proposals for this topic. NCATS has a very strong focus on microphysiological chip systems, MPSs, or organ on a chip, and this is to address development of a universal cell culture medium that can be used to support multicellular tissues in these chips. And the goal here, again, is to create this medium that will be able to be used with multiple tissue types and maintain healthy cell and maintain the cells in a healthy and functional state while they are being used on the chip. Again, this is an excerpt of some of the phase 1 activities that we will be expecting for this particular topic, and encourage you to look at the actual statement of work just so you can see exactly what we are asking for here. Next slide, please. Our last topic is topic 18, non-PDMS biocompatible alternatives for organs on a chip. Again, we are anticipating awarding up to 2 phase 1s here. No fast track proposals will be accepted for this particular topic. And what we aim to address here is the pressing need in the field of microphysiological systems or organs on a chip to develop and produce a biocompatible alternative that can be used in the place of PDMS, which is a silicon-based material which is currently widely used to fabricate organ on a chip platforms. We've again included an excerpt of the activities and expected deliverables for the phase 1, and this actually is not the complete list of all these of all the following properties that we'd be looking for. So we again encourage you to look at the individual topics to see that. And if you have any questions, to please contact our contracting officer, Jeff Schmidt, who will be able to help out with any questions. And I will turn it over to Matt now.
Thank you very much, Lily. And so with that, we will move on to National Cancer Institute and Ashim to go ahead and present their topics.
Thanks, Matt. Good afternoon. My name is Ashim Subedi. I'm a program director here at National Cancer Institute. So upfront, if you have any questions about any of these contract topics, please contact the contracting officer, Tiffany Chadwick. Her email address is listed here, ncioaspir@mel.nia.gov. You can also go to our website, sbir.cancer.gov, and you'll find the list of all the active contract topics that are available right now. You will see, for each topic, details on like the goal of the topic, the activities and deliverables. So it's a good place to sort of see the list of contract topics and also get the contact information. Next slide, please. Here I've listed sort of a little bit of background on contract topics at NCI and how we do it. Usually the contract topics are usually in areas of NCI priority with strong potential for commercial success. So the way we identify the contract topic is by looking at all the scientific and technology priorities here at NCI, and also what are some of the interest in the commercial sector, and then come up with the contract topics. In terms of the budget, the contract topic is about like 25 to 30% of NCI budget. So it varies between 20 and 35, as you can see, but it usually is roughly around that 1/4, like 25% of the total budget that we have. Next slide, please. Here we have listed all the 15 contract topics that we have issued. So unlike a bunch of other ICs, we have a lot of contract topics. So I'm not going to go into each topic in detail. So the next 15 slides will have more details. I'll go over it quickly, but here I sort of have listed, and I'll go over each of them here and briefly mention the main components for each. So topic 382 is integrated subcellular microscopy and omics in cancer cell biology. For that one, fast track is accepted. For most of the topics, it's you get phase 1 is accepted and fast track. The exceptions are topic 389, only phase 1 is accepted for that, no fast track is allowed. And topic 392, only fast track will be allowed. So if you submit a phase 1, it won't be accepted. So it has to be a fast track only. Next slide, please. So this is integrated subcellular microscopy and omics in cancer cell biology. Just the idea here is to solicit contract topics where you've developed some sort of imaging microscopy tool and combine it with follow-up approaches in omics. So the activities and deliverables, some of them are listed here, but the details you can find in the solicitation and also on our website. We anticipate 2 to 3 awards for this, and we accept fast track for this one. Next one. This one is smart multi-core biopsy needle. The idea here is to develop a smart biopsy needle that can get samples from multiple different cores, not just one site, but different cores within the same tumor. With this one, we anticipate again 2 to 3 awards, and fast track is accepted. And also notice that the budget amount. So a lot of these topics fall within the waiver topics. So the phase 1 budget amount would be up to $300,000, and phase 2 would be up to $2 million. But do look at that budget amount. Some of them have lower cap because they don't fall under the waiver topic. Next slide. Topic 384 is to develop digital healthcare platform to reduce financial hardship for cancer patients. The idea here is to develop an IT-based platform to help patients figure out the out-of-pocket cost for cancer treatment. It's expected that you'll work with all the different healthcare systems and provider and payer and insurers to come up with a comprehensive IT platform. For this one, again, 2 to 3 awards accepted, anticipated, and the budgets are mentioned there. Next one. Topic 385 is to leverage connected health technologies to address and improve outcomes for long-term cancer survivors. So it's again another software, a database system, mobile application kind of tool to come up with some sort of technology to improve health outcomes in cancer survivors and specifically focused on long-term survivors. Next slide. The next one is novel approaches for local delivery of chemopreventive approaches. So the idea is to develop a novel delivery device or formulation for chemoprevention. For this topic, make sure that it's focused on chemoprevention and not treatment. So if you propose something for treatment of cancer, it will not be accepted. And also the focus should be on local delivery, so nothing systemic. Next slide. Topic 387 is multiplex preclinical tools for longitudinal characterization of immunological status in tumor and its microenvironment. So the topic is focused on developing minimally invasive imaging and analytic tools and platforms that can evaluate immunological status of tumors and its microenvironment. We anticipate 3 to 4 awards for this topic, and the budgets are $300,000 for phase 1 and $2 million for phase 2. Topic 388, next slide, is in vitro diagnostics for liver flukes of these two specific genuses and species. And so the idea here is to develop in vitro diagnostic to detect these liver fluke that causes liver flukes infections. 2 to 3 anticipated awards, and the same budget cap, 300,000 for phase 1 and 2 million for phase 2. Topic 389 is development of AI tools to understand and duplicate experts' radiation therapy planning for prostate cancer. So here it's focused only on prostate cancer. Fast track will not be accepted, only phase 1 will be accepted for this topic. And the budget caps are 300,000 and 2 million. Topic 390 is clonogenic high throughput assay for screening anti-cancer agents and radiation modulators. The purpose is to promote academic industry partnership and radiobiology to develop clonogenic survival-based HTS systems. 3 to 4 anticipated awards, the budget cap at 300 for phase 1 and 2 million for phase 2. Topic 391 is to develop drugs and devices to exploit the immune responses generated by radiation therapy. The goal is to develop agents or devices that can augment or negate the immune modulation events that are induced by radiation therapy. So for this topic, it is critical that whatever is proposed is in conjunction and combination with radiation therapy. 2 to 3 awards are anticipated for this one, and budget caps are again 300,000 for phase 1 and 2 million for phase 2. Topic 392 is clinical trials of systemic targeted radionuclide therapies. So for this one, only fast track will be accepted. And it's critical that offerers must have met either IND requirements for this product. So they either already need to have IND from FDA, or they have to demonstrate that IND will be accepted by the end of phase 1 period performance. So it's really important that you have already talked to FDA and either already have IND or have commitment that you will have IND by the end of phase 1. 2 to 4 awards will be issued, and phase 1 budget cap is 300,000, phase 2 is $2 million. Topic 393 is sensing tools to measure biological response to radiotherapy. So this topic, the aim is to develop in vivo or in vitro sensor tools to measure biologic response to radiation. So rather than just looking at radiation dose, the idea is to measure response to radiation. So better way to measure how much radiation goes in by looking at the biological response. The 3 to 4 awards are anticipated, and the budgets are again 300,000 for phase 1 and 2 million for phase 2. Topic 394 is combinatory treatment modalities utilizing radiation to locally activate or release systemically delivered therapeutics. The idea is to develop combinatory treatment modalities by using external ionizing radiation to locally activate or release systemically or intratumorally delivered therapeutics. 2 to 4 awards are anticipated, and the same budget cap, 300,000 and 2 million. Topic 395 is for development of targeted therapy for cancer and cancer therapy related cachexia. So it does include small molecules or biologics to prevent or treat cachexia related to cancer or cancer therapy. The topics should focus on cachexia in higher prevalence of cancer and cancer related cachexia. 2 to 3 awards are anticipated for this one as well, and 300,000 for phase 1, 2 million for phase 2. Topic 396, the last topic, is to develop imaging for technology to identify patients who are likely to respond to immunotherapies or evaluate the efficacy and potential toxicities of treatment with immunotherapy. The imaging modality can be any of the following that's listed there. So there's open opportunity for innovation there. 3 to 4 awards are anticipated for this topic, and the budget caps are 300,000 for phase 1 and 2 million for phase 2. So these are all the NCI topics, and again, if you have any questions, please contact the contracting officer, and the information is available on the very first slide and also on our website. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Ashim, and great work on going through all of that. There's obviously a lot more detail on each of these in the topic section of the solicitation, which you should look at. I should also mention, as was brought up, that each topic we'll have potentially different budget limits listed for phase 1 and 2. So it's very important that you look at the top of the topic and make sure you're addressing and working within the budgetary limits of each topic. Next up, we will have the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute topics, and Chris Sasiela from NHLBI will go through those. Chris,
Thanks, Matt.
take it away.
Thanks, Matt. My name is Chris Sasiel. I'll be presenting for the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute today. Despite what it says on this slide, please do contact the contract officer as identified in the solicitation for all questions related to the next 3 slides, which will list the solicitations. Next slide, please. Okay, thank you. Topic number 106, active MRI needle. Fast track proposals will be accepted, as will phase 1 proposals. Please note the budget limits for the phase 1 and phase 2 awards that are possible with this solicitation. The intent of the solicitation is to develop a market-cleared system, including active MRI needle and all necessary accessories for MRI-guided active needle access in patients. For more information about this particular solicitation, please do go on to the overall solicitation and read the full description. Next slide, please. Topic number 107, transcatheter POTS shunt. Again, phase 1 and fast track proposals will be accepted. Please note on this particular solicitation, although we would accept up to 2 phase 1 applications, we will only be making 1 phase 2 award. And again, on this particular solicitation, note that the phase 1 budget is up to $400,000 and the phase 3 is up to $3 million. The intent of this topic is to develop and test a transcatheter POTS shunt prototype system in vivo in phase 1, and then to develop a clinical device and obtain an FDA IDE for the first human testing in the US in phase 2. Next slide, please. Topic number 108, device system for transcatheter repair of post-infarction ventricular septal defect. In this particular topic, we expect to award 1 phase 1 and then 1 phase 2 award. The budget total costs for this are $400,000 for phase 1 and $3 million for 36 months. The intent of this topic is to develop a device for percutaneous closure of post-infarction ventricular septal defect in adults, with first a prototype being developed and tested in animals, and ultimately the development of a clinical grade device that would undergo regulatory development for clinical testing. That concludes the topics for NHLBI.
Thank you very much, Chris. Next, we will go on to NIAAA. And Kathy and Elizabeth, please go ahead.
So good afternoon, this is Kathy Young. I'm going to talk about the topic, it doesn't even show, NIAAA's interest in a wearable alcohol biosensor that quantifies blood alcohol concentration in real time. We are seeking only fast track applications because we are very eager to see the production of this topic as soon as possible. The phase 1 is allowed to ask for up to $500,000 for up to 9 months, and the phase 2 up to $2 million for up to 2 years. The objective is to wear a wearable alcohol biosensor that humans can wear that will measure blood alcohol in real time in a passive device that's attractive, that's comfortable to the wearer, and is acceptable to the wearer and potentially to any treatment professional they might want to work with. For the phase 1, we would expect the demonstration of the technology and your background information about how that would work, and some data as to the fact that your device can detect alcohol in blood. In the phase 2 application, we would expect the incorporation of the sensor into a discrete wearable device, the development of an algorithm that converts your signal directly to readable blood alcohol. These devices should have all the protections for security, data security, and privacy protections, because this information is unique to the human and it's their private information. And there's more information in the solicitation, and we'll be happy to answer questions. You can direct those questions to the contracting officer, of course. I'll now turn the topic over to my colleague, Elizabeth Powell.
Hello, this is Elizabeth Powell. The second topic is data science tools for alcohol research. This is only phase 1, no fast track. It's up to $225,000, 6 to 12 months. We anticipate 1 to 2 awards. So about data science, we include artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning, and text mining algorithms, software tools or mathematical models for integrating data relating to alcohol research. This can be data that's publicly available databases. It can be cross-platform. It can be many of our data that are deposited in NIH archives, and NIAAA soon is requiring all human data studies to be deposited in the NDA. It also can be animal data to communicate across different studies. If there's any other questions, they can be contacted the contractor officer. Thank you.
All right, thank you all very much. We'll now move on to NIAID and Wolfgang. Let's see, Patty, can you unmute Wolfgang, please?
I'm trying. Wolfgang, are you self-muted?
There we go.
Here we go. Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Wolfgang Leitner, and I will be introducing the 13 SBIR contract topics from the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. Before I get into the topics, I want to point out that fast track applications are allowed for all but 2 of the topics, and I will specifically point those 2 out. Next slide, please. The next slide. So the first set of solicitations are in the area of HIV prevention and therapy. Topic number 63 is entitled In Vitro Targeted Degradation of HIV Proteins. This is based on recently developed methods to generate reagents that harness the proteasome for the degradation of targeted proteins. And so in this case, this is reagents that specifically bind to HIV-derived proteins in infected cells. The budget cap for this solicitation is $300,000 for phase 1, which is limited to 1 year, and $2 million for phase 2, which can last up to 3 years. Next slide. Topic number 64 solicits applications proposing to develop targeted and controlled delivery platforms of HIV envelope immunogens. They can be in any format that includes nucleic acid vaccines and that provide effective multivalent antigenic display on nanoparticles. So the objective of the project is to develop, characterize, and/or validate treatment strategies to induce strong and long-lived neutralizing anti-HIV antibodies. Phase 1 for this topic can again be up to 1 year. It is capped at $300,000. Phase 2 can last for up to 3 years and is capped at $1 million per year. Next topic. Solicitation number 65 supports work to optimize the formulation of HIV vaccines with adjuvants. And it also includes support for the design of HIV immunogens. So combining these 2 aspects of HIV vaccine development, the antigen design and the adjuvant development, is expected to accelerate the process of generating safe and effective HIV vaccine candidates. For this program, the offers are expected to accelerate and advance early stage and/or preclinical development and optimization of formulations that consist of promising HIV antigens with adjuvants, and that includes combination adjuvants for preventive, not therapeutic HIV vaccines. Phase 1 can be up to 2 years. It's capped at $300,000 per year. Phase 2 can be up to 3 years, and the budget is capped at $1 million a year. Next slide, please. Topic number 66 also supports delivery approaches and specifically calls for the development of advanced platform technologies to deliver various forms of RNAs into specific cells or tissues. So these RNA delivery systems have to be applied to HIV vaccines. So for example, mRNA or self-replicating RNA or HIV therapeutics. And these can include siRNAs, microRNAs, aptamers, but also circular DNA species that encode appropriate RNA transcripts. The technology can be developed as standalone systems or in combination with traditional HIV vaccines and therapeutics. So in this case, the RNA platform would co-deliver, for example, cytokines, adjuvants, monoclonal antibodies, or immune checkpoint inhibitors to enhance the efficacy of the traditional HIV vaccine or therapeutic. The ultimate goal of this initiative is to bring fully developed delivery systems to the clinic and then eventually to market. Phase 1 for this topic is limited to 1 year and $300,000. Phase 2, again, up to 3 years, and the budget is capped at $2 million total. Next slide. The last HIV-related solicitation from NIAID is topic number 67. It solicits proposals for improved methods to produce HIV proteins. Since large-scale, high-yield GMP manufacturing of HIV protein antigens has been shown to represent a serious bottleneck in the HIV vaccine development and testing process. The goal of the project is to develop improved CHO cell-based culture systems, and projects may focus on any step of the HIV envelope expression and yield, and that includes improving existing cell substrates. Proposals that are submitted in response to this solicitation may also focus on the development of purification platforms with the goal of increasing the yield of HIV immunogens. Phase 1 projects can last up to 2 years with a total budget of $300,000. Phase 2 projects are limited to $1 million per year and can last up to 3 years. Next slide. Topic number 68 addresses the need for reagents that facilitate immunological analyses in non-mammalian as well as underrepresented mammalian animal models. This solicitation supports the development of reliable antibodies as well as other reagents that enable the identification and tracking of immune cells or the analysis of immune functions. And that includes reagents to detect, for example, cytokines or chemokines, or reagents for the analysis of intracellular signaling. Examples of non-mammalian models for which reagents to study immune responses are inadequate include arthropods, such as mosquitoes, Drosophila, amphibians, such as Xenopus, fish, such as zebrafish, or nematodes. And examples of underrepresented mammalian models would be guinea pigs, ferrets, or cotton rats. Phase 1 projects may last up to 2 years with a budget cap of $300,000 per year. Phase 2, again, up to 3 years with a maximum budget of $1 million per year. Next slide. Topic number 67 solicits proposals to develop computational tools to aid in the analysis of B-cell and T-cell repertoire sequence analysis. The purpose of such tools is to improve the collection, compilation, and comparison of receptor sequence data to facilitate the analysis and comparison across cell types and for infectious diseases as well as immune-mediated diseases. As a secondary goal, the tools should also facilitate connection between receptor repertoire patterns and antigens or epitope predictions. The tools being developed need to be able to compile and interrogate data from publicly available data sources and repositories. Phase 1 projects can be up to 2 years with a total budget not to exceed $450,000. Phase 2 projects can last up to 3 years with a budget cap of $1 million per year. And this is one of the 2 topics for which NIAID will not accept fast-track applications. Next slide. Topic number 70 calls for the development of novel standardized assays to monitor immune responses when only limited sample is available. And examples of the areas for which such sample-sparing assays may be developed include the analysis of antigen-specific immune responses, identification of distinct immune cell populations, characterization of T and B cell regulatory networks, or the evaluation of innate immune responses. Additional examples are listed here as well as in the solicitation. Phase 1 projects are limited to 6 months and with a budget cap at 150,000. Phase 2 projects are limited to 2 years with a budget of no more than 1 million total. And this is the second topic for which NIAID will not accept fast track applications. So the next two topics address NIAID's interest in the development of novel vaccine adjuvants. Topic 71 supports screening approaches to identify novel adjuvants for vaccines. And these could be vaccines either against infectious diseases or immune-mediated and allergic diseases. The solicitation also supports the characterization of candidate adjuvants that have been identified in this first step screening assay and their early stage optimization. Phase 1 projects may last up to 2 years. The budget cap is 300,000 per year. Phase 2 projects may last up to 3 years with a budget of no more than 1 million per year. Topic number 72 supports the next stage in adjuvant research, namely the preclinical development and optimization of either a single lead adjuvant candidate or a combination adjuvant. Adjuvants need to be developed together with the vaccine for preventing human disease, infectious disease other than HIV, or autoimmune and allergic disease. So when developing combination adjuvants, it's important to demonstrate synergistic adjuvanticity of the components. And this synergy may result in either overall enhancement in case of a vaccine for infectious diseases, or tolerization in case of a vaccine against allergic or autoimmune disease of the immune response, the potential for dose sparing of the adjuvant to minimize reactogenicity without affecting the adjuvanticity or tolerogenicity, or synergy may be shown through the broadening of the effector response. And this could be indicated, for example, by target epitope spreading or increased antibody avidity. The time budget limits are the same as for topic 71. Phase 1 projects may last up to 2 years with a maximum budget of 300,000 per year. Phase 2 may last up to 3 years with a budget of no more than 1 million per year. The last 3 NIAID topics address the need for better point-of-care diagnostics. Topic 73 calls for the development of low-cost, rapid, easy-to-use, and most importantly, smartphone-compatible point-of-care diagnostics for infectious diseases that can be used in low-resource settings. The solicitation also requires the development of computational tools and algorithms that are necessary to link the diagnostic test to a smartphone. NIAID is particularly interested in diagnostics with improved sensitivity for tuberculosis, for malaria, for influenza, and specifically the ability to distinguish between flu and other respiratory diseases, for distinguishing between bacterial and viral pneumonia, and for onchocerciasis. Phase 1 projects are limited to 1 year with a budget of no more than 300,000. Phase 2 projects may last up to 3 years with a total budget of no more than 1.5 million. Topic number 74 solicits the development of rapid point-of-care assays to determine the concentration of antibiotics used for the treatment of tuberculosis in the blood. The desired outcomes include the development of a portal device that only requires a very small amount of blood and which provides consistent and rapid readouts so that results can be obtained during a patient's visit, meaning within less than 1 hour. Phase 1 projects are limited to 1 year and a budget of 300,000. Phase 2 projects may last up to 3 years with a budget of 1.5 million per year. The last NIAID topic on the SBIR omnibus solicitation is number 75. It calls for the development of rapid point-of-care diagnostics to identify Neisseria gonorrhea, as well as the susceptibility of the identified bacterial strain to at least 3 classes of antibiotics. The assay should also be able to accommodate samples that have been obtained directly from the patients. Phase 1 projects are limited to 1 year and a budget of 300,000. Phase 2 projects may last up to 3 years with a total budget of 1.5 million. Next slide. And as others have already pointed out, if you have any questions about any of the NIAID topics that I just presented, please make sure you direct them only at the contract officer who's listed on the slide. And as Matt had already pointed out, it is crucial to very carefully check the time limits of the phase 1 projects and the budget caps for both phase 1 and phase 2 projects, because they do differ significantly between the topics. And NIAID may not be able to consider projects for funding if they exceed these caps. Also, please note that for some of the topics which have pretty high budget caps, it is necessary to submit a very strong justification if you have a budget that is close to the cap. And with that, I'm handing the presentation back to Matt.
Thank you very much, Wolfgang. We will now move on to NIDA and Irina.
Thank you, Matt. Good afternoon, everybody. And my name is Irina Sazanova, and I will present 2 topics designed by National Institute on Drug Abuse. Those 2 topics are related to find a solution and to address the national opioid crisis. The topic 165, we accept both phase 1 and fast track proposals and intend to award up to 4 projects. This idea is based on the observation that diversion of opioids in hospitals is very common and can lead to serious harm to the patients and put organization at a significant liability risk. With this topic, we are looking for innovative and commercially viable technological solutions for drug detection and deactivation that can represent a new generation of technologies to deter opioid theft in hospitals. NIDA envisions what with advanced system, we can combine device with analytical approaches to measure and deactivate narcotic waste, as well as to synchronize information with pre-existing data and to continuously monitor disposal. For the prototype development, you must clearly demonstrate your understanding of the key elements of the effective diversion prevention program at hospitals, regulatory guidelines, and needs for improvement. Technical validity and technological capabilities should be tested in laboratory study for the phase 1. It is expected that the new technology does not interfere with any way with healthcare provisions. So the next one, please. This is the second topic, 166, leverage health IT solution to combat opioid misuse. We also accept phase 1 and fast proposals and anticipate funding up to 6 projects. This funding opportunity is complementary to this recent DHSS opioid challenge via Codatron event. The overall goal is to develop innovative solutions to combat the opioid epidemic during and using data and technology. Approaches might be focused to opioid use prevention, opioid use, opioid overdose prevention, or opioid use disease treatment. We encourage you to use already existing databases or adapt pre-coded health IT solutions to use in the OED marketplace. If you plan to use non-public available databases, please contact the NIDA contract officer to ensure resource availability, to check the level of restrictions and data release process prior to your submission of proposals. For the phase 1 goals, we are looking to identify and justify the needs, to specifically justify the quantitative project milestones, to identify a key feature of the technology, and to design the prototype of software structure. So it's very important to emphasize what both NIDA topics are related to health IT, and we know what this technology might be difficult to commercialize. NIDA is very interested to bring these products to the market. So to do so, it's highly important for small business to demonstrate adaptivity of the product to the market needs and to establish the clear commercialization pathway. If you're submitting a proposal to either of those two topics, NIDA strongly encourages you to include potential participation in the NIH Corps program with the phase 1 proposal. So Christy from NCI already presented that program and requirements. So for details, please look description of those two topics, full descriptions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Irina. And last, but certainly not least, we have my good friend and colleague, Sean Griffiths from CDC to present the CDC mission, some SBIR background on them and their topics. Take it away, Sean.
Thank you, Matt. This is Sean Griffiths. Greetings from Atlanta. Good afternoon. My name is Sean David Griffiths, and I'm the SBIR Program Manager for the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. I'm going to take a few moments before discussing the topics and tell you a little bit about CDC's SBIR program. Next slide. As Dr. Portnoy noted earlier, please read the entire RFP to ensure that you are following all the appropriate guidance. If you have questions during the open solicitation period, please contact CDC via sbir@cdc.gov and the responsible contracting officer. Be sure to reference the SBIR PHS 2019-1 contract solicitation, as well as the specific CDC topic number with your written question. Also, I wanted to reiterate that the only CDC center participating in I-Corps at NIH in this specific solicitation is NCATS, or the National Center for Emerging Zoonotic and Infectious Diseases, topic 020, which I will cover shortly. Next slide. The Office of the Associate Director for Science manages the CDC SBIR program. OADS works across the agency with CDC centers and institutes that have a SBIR set aside to help ensure that the SBIR funds support high quality and high impact SBIR projects. CDC participates in both the SBIR STTR HHS Omnibus Grant Solicitation and the HHS SBIR Contract Solicitation. CDC does not participate in the STTR program at this time. CDC has opted to participate in the Majority VC Ownership Authority. Next slide. In regard to CDC's budget, as Dr. Portnoy talked about earlier, our set-aside budget for FY18 was approximately $9.5 million. CDC awards approximately 30 phase 1s up to $150,000 each, and approximately 5 to 7 phase 2s per year up to $1 million. And that depends on circumstances and situations, and those numbers do change. CDC participates in SBIR technical assistance programs, for example, the Niche Assessment Program, Commercialization Accelerator Program, and of course the I-Corps at NIH. Next slide. Now I'm going to go into the topic specifically. I'm just reorienting for one moment. The first topic, 010, from the Center of Global Health here at CDC, multiplex detection of recent and prior exposure to pathogens. We expect 1 as the number of awards, budget up to $150,000 for 6 months. The project goal, specifically, to solicit the innovative development of diagnostic testing platforms that can simultaneously detect antigens of multiple pathogens and different antibody isotopes and or immune factors against those pathogens in a single multiplex assay. Phase 1 activities and deliverables. The project research shall identify a list of relevant pathogens, appropriate antigens, and reactive antibody isotopes, for example, IgG, IgM, IgA, etc., to these pathogens that will be included in a single multiplex testing platform format. The multiplex assay performance will be optimized for sensitivity and specificity using mock spiked and real clinical specimens. Next slide. This is also from the Center for Global Health, topic number 011, preservation of supply quality during unmanned aerial vehicle or UAV transport. Number of anticipated awards, 1 to 2. Phase 1's up to 150,000 for up to 6 months. The project goal. Primary goals for this project are to increase the utility of drone transport of perishable materials by engineering a lightweight transport box that is airtight, impervious to outdoor temperature, and highly secure. Phase 1 activities and deliverables. Design of a drone transport box that meets the project goal criteria above, ideally a rotor or hybrid style, for example, fixed wing with hover capability, drone used as a transport. Initial flight trials should be conducted in a controlled environment and mimic extreme outdoor temperature and weather conditions, while the internal transport box integrity and temperature of its contents is monitored. Next slide. Also from the Center for Global Health, topic 012, improving global health with a novel handheld counterfeit drug identifier, CODI. This was, as Dr. Portnoy noted earlier, was added by the Amendment 1. Number of anticipated awards, 1. Budget up to 150 for 6 months project period. The goal of this project is a web-based smart device application enabling small businesses to build a health and wellness. Hang on a second. The goal of this project is to develop a new generation of portable, easy-to-use CODI with adjustable parameter to provide greater versatility for use with a wider variety of medicines. A CODI prototype has been produced and tested on confirmed counterfeit anti-malarial drugs collected in Africa. It was shown to be 100% accurate in discriminating genuine and counterfeit corridum and identifying products from specific manufacturers, and has successfully demonstrated proof of concept of the technique used to identify a counterfeited product. Phase 1 activities and deliverables. The project research will produce the next generation portable, user-friendly, and affordable device with greater versatility, prototype 2, by incorporating adjustable parameters such as a laser output, detector sensitivity, sample compatibility, and LED indicators. Next slide, please. This is from our National Center for Chronic Disease Prevention and Health Promotion. This is topic number 041, community-based worksite wellness app linking employees to wellness resources. Number of anticipated awards, 1. Budget up to $150,000 for 6 months. The goal of this project is a web-based smart device application enabling small businesses to build a health and wellness supporting network of local products and services provided by peer small businesses and others. Phase 1 activities and deliverables. A web tech design business with expertise in both building social networks as well as health and wellness services will become familiar with CDC's worksite wellness programs and other large public health or health-oriented companies or businesses to develop a web platform and smart device app. This interface needs to enable small and mid-sized businesses interested in designing or enhancing worksite wellness programs to connect with and build peer network of businesses offering health-related products, services, and resources. Next slide, please. From the National Center of Chronic Disease Prevention and Health Promotion, topic 042, objective measurement of opioid withdrawal in newborns. Phase 1 up to $150,000 for 6 months. Project goal. The goal of this project is to create a wearable device that objectively measures a newborn's withdrawal symptoms. The device will have the following characteristics: small and unnoticeable for newborn wear, humidity resistant, bacteria resistant, infection controlled, single use, wireless, able to capture data for 12 hours without interruption, and user-friendly interface for clinicians to view symptoms. Phase 1 activities. The expected deliverable for Phase 1 is a functional prototype with the above-mentioned specifications. Wearable technology is capable of capturing body temperature, movement, and sleep cycles for adults. It is anticipated that this technology could be adapted or developed for newborns. Next slide. This is from the National Center for Emerging Zoonotic and Infectious Diseases, NCAID, also participating in I-Core at NIH. Topic number 020, novel coating surfaces on indwelling medical devices to prevent biofilms. A number of expected awards, 2, phase 1 up to 150 for 6 months. The goal of this project is to develop coatings or altered surfaces that can be used on indwelling urinary or intravascular catheters to prevent or significantly reduce biofilm formation by organisms known to cause healthcare-associated infections. Phase 1 activities and expected deliverables. The technical merit or feasibility of the proposed technology should be determined using an in vitro model that is designed to stimulate biofilm formation on the catheter surfaces. The in vitro model should use at least 2 clinically relevant organisms that are known to be responsible for catheter-associated urinary tract or catheter-associated bloodstream infections. Ideally, 2 approaches providing complementary data on microbial attachment using multiple healthcare-associated pathogens and biofilm formation should be used to provide a proof of concept for the proposed technology. Models containing actual catheter materials would be especially useful but are not required. The goal of these studies is to provide a proof of concept for the technology. Next slide, please. National Center for Environmental Health, topic number 001, rapid field test to improve swimming pool, water, and air quality. Number of awards, 1, phase 1 up to 150 for 6 months. The project goal. The goal of this project is to develop a single implementable poolside test method to gather separate measures for organic and inorganic combined chlorines in pool water. Regulators can then expect that pool operators can test for these compound groups and respond to the regulatory level requirements for water quality. Such a test would assist pool operators in improving water quality and associated air quality. Phase 1 activities and deliverables. Investigate basic chemistry of these reactions and develop plan for test development. Next slide. Office of Public Health Preparedness and Emergency Response, OPHPR, topic number 003, rapid test for simultaneous detection of influenza type A and B and Streptococcus group A. Number of anticipated awards, 1 to 2, phase 1 up to 150 for up to 6 months. The goal of this project is to develop a rapid POC, point-of-care diagnostic test that can simultaneously determine whether an individual is infected with influenza virus types A and B, or GAS, or both. The test should be simple, cost-effective, and non-invasive, demonstrate sensitivity and specificity greater than or comparable to the current POC tests, and have a potential of high throughput, running many samples at once for rapid testing. Phase 1 activities can include, but are not limited to, review of literature and preparation of a report about the current status of POC, influenza type A and B, and GAS tests available in the market or reported in published literature. Development of new reagents or modification of currently available reagents that can be stored at ambient temperature. Test development to enable one-step simultaneous specific detection of influenza type A and type B and GAS. Validation of test specificity and sensitivity greater than or comparable to current tests, and test kit development, including instruction for use and result interpretation. Next slide. And I just want to mention that these are just snippets of the topics. I would encourage those that are interested in CDC topics to read the full solicitation and each of the topics in full detail. We don't have time to go through all of the detail in each of the topics. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Sean. And I'm going to wrap up the webinar in a second, and then we'll go right to questions. So just a last reminder, deadline is Monday, October 22nd, 2018, 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Submission must be complete. You must have a timestamp that says you're good before this, at or before this time. And then lastly, there's a number of ways you can continue to stay connected with us. We have a listserv where many of you might have heard about this for, but if you're not, you can subscribe to the listserv at the top. You'll subscribe to the NIH Guide for Grants and Contracts for a weekly email about funding opportunities all around NIH. Follow us on Twitter, and you can ask questions of us at the bottom, sbir@od.nh.gov. If you ask us contract questions, 99% of the time our answer is going to be call the contracting officer or contact the contracting officer in section 10. With that, we are going to use the remainder of the time and roll through as many questions as we can. We're going to start with Christy Canaria to kind of go through with a handful of I-Corps questions we got. So are you there, Christy?
Yes, we're here.
All right, fantastic. I'll just read these over and you can go through. So what are the allowable costs for the I-Corps budget for the 50K?
The allowable costs include direct costs only. There must be budget set aside for the registration costs for the course, which at this time are $20,000. Also, direct costs that are related to conducting I-Corps activities that include travel for the kickoff and closing workshops, and also costs for conducting customer discovery are all included in allowable for budget.
Oh, great. So related, since I-Corps anticipates 50% of time for the 3-member team, can funds be requested for some percentage of that salary to offset?
There is allowable for effort to be spent on through the budget, but it should be related to the I-Corps program and only listed as a direct cost.
Okay, thanks. Another one, am I correct in understanding that I-Corps funding is in addition to the SBIR contract budget?
That is correct. The award for participating in I-Corps will be in addition to the SBIR award.
That's right. It's treated actually as a contract option. If you submit to be in the I-Corps program, will that be a separate Appendix C, or so one for the contract proposal, one for I-Corps, or do you incorporate that into the overall Appendix C?
There should be a separate Appendix C titled with I-Corps in the title.
Great. And thanks very much. So if we see any others, then we'll come back. And so now Patty's going to read off some grants and contracts general questions, and then I'll go through them, and then we'll just roll up as many. I should also say, if we don't get to your question, please feel free to contact your contracting officer for the topic you're interested in and send it to them. We will also not be answering specific questions about specific topics, about deliverables or anything related to an institute-specific topic here. Definitely transmit that by email directly to the contracting officer. All right, why don't you go ahead, Patty?
Can you apply to grant and a contract with the same proposal? And I assume, could you perform both a grant and a contract simultaneously?
The answer to both questions is no. You cannot submit the same project to a grant and a contract funding opportunity at the same time. We would not accept them, and we wouldn't fund you for duplicate work. You pick the best funding opportunity for your work at the time, and then you put your best effort into that proposal.
Given the contract description as an acquisition mechanism, does this mean NIH owns the data or product that is produced as an outcome?
This is a very good question and typically misunderstood. The answer is no. This SBIR contract follows the regular SBIR data and IP rights. So all of the technical data rights and intellectual property belong to the awardee small business, not to the government or NIH. The government does reserve the right to have a royalty-free license for government use only, but we don't exercise that authority ever. So everything belongs to the company.
Assuming a product was developed after successfully receiving phase 1 and phase 2 funding through contracts, ultimately who is going to own it? The small business that developed it, or both NIH and the small business?
The small business will own it. Yep, the small business will own it, sell it, license it, make all the money off of it. The NIH won't. All we want is to make sure you file your reports on time and tell us about the story and keep us up to date and file tracking information when we ask for it about how it's going.
When will applicants be notified of a funding decision for a contract solicitation?
So this, I would direct you to look at section 9 of the contract RFP. It lists, in addition to the number of awards anticipated, it gives the anticipated date for review and award decisions. It varies. They're pretty much lumped together by institute. So it's, it's going to say something like August or September. Most of them are going to say August, September 2019, but it is by institute listed in section 9.
Why are some topics permitted in the fast track mode and some are not?
This is due to the institute discretion. Some institutes, as you heard, are looking for, some institutes who want to do only a fast track for a given topic want to get that out there quicker, get the technology out there quicker. Fast track is a mechanism which is essentially designed to shorten the phase 1-2 funding gap. You don't have to apply separately for phase 2, you do it all at once. And so near the end of the phase 1, the institute can go right to phase 2 pretty quickly in a fast track and get your project moving quicker. And so those are at institute discretion and program priority, whether they offer phase 1 only, fast track only, or allow both.
Matt, if you submit a fast track application and it is not funded, is it possible for your phase 1 to be considered and funded?
So this is a very good question, and the answer is actually different than our usual grants question. The answer is yes. If you submit a fast track contract proposal, since you're submitting 2 complete proposals, phase 1 and phase 2, the agency and institute reserves the right, if your phase 2 doesn't do well, to potentially just pick up the phase 1 of the fast track and fund that alone, and then send you through the regular phase 2 process at their discretion.
Should the CVs be in the NIH BioSketch format like what is required for grants?
I would direct you to take a look at the instructions in section 8 and see what it says about bios. I don't just know offhand what the instructions are. It may say use an NIH, it may give you the option to do whatever you want, but just read the instructions on the bios in section 8.
Can a university be a subcontractor or subawardee if we are using its staff and its lab as the performance site?
So that's a couple of different questions in there. The answer in general is yes. A small business can subcontract a percentage of the work to a university or other partner. It doesn't really matter. University, small business, large business. It needs to be US based. Up to 1/3 of the budget in phase 1 could be subcontracted out, and up to half in phase 2. All of that said, the company still needs to do 2/3 of the work in phase 1 and minimum and half in phase 2 in company controlled facilities with company employees. So you cannot have an entire performance site being only the university for 100% of the work. The company does need to do a significant percentage of the work in their facilities, rented or leased.
And these are some clinical trials or human subjects questions.
Okay.
Is a mechanical device that improves training not considered for number 4 of the clinical trials questions? Is training a health-related outcome?
So it's hard for me to say. I can't answer that really. I would recommend you send that question in to the contracting officer and ask them to ask program if, give a description of what you're thinking about, and they can help advise you whether or not that falls under the definition of clinical trial.
If we purchase blood specimens to use for our project, is that considered under human subjects?
It typically is. You're going to need to look at the human subjects instructions and all of the exemptions. It's possible it might be considered under one of the exemptions if you are buying de-identified blood samples. But you need to kind of take a look at the human subjects information and instructions to determine whether or not you would fall under human subjects research and then ask questions.
Does every clinical trial require IRB approval?
I think so. I think if it's going to qualify as a clinical trial under the 4 questions, it's going to need some level of IRB approval, but the instructions will clarify all of that. And if you have questions, you can either ask your contracting officer, or we can direct you to the human subjects office as well, if it's not, not specific to contracts.
Okay, the rest I can go back to the question box. Matt, I don't know if you looked over or want to see.
I've been skimming, so why don't you just go ahead and fire away as long as we can. For about maybe 5 more minutes, we'll answer questions.
If a topic specifies 2 or more goals, is a proposal considered non-responsive if it does not address all goals?
That's a good question to ask the contracting officer specific to topic. My guess is if they want a certain number of things and they don't give you or as an option, then you need to address everything to be responsive to the topic. But it's a question to ask the contracting officer for a specific topic in question.
Another I-Corps came in late. Since I-Corps anticipates 50% of 3 team members' time, can funds be requested for some percentage of salary?
So yeah, we actually covered that a little bit before. So yeah, they could be, but it has to be specific for the I-Corps program. So I got some of them up here too. Let's see here. Can you contact the contracting officer after August 31st? If not, what if you have questions? You can contact the contracting officers after August 31st. It'll take us a week or 2 to post that question amendment in FedBizOps and on our website. They will answer your questions or direct you to the amendment with the questions and answers. If you have questions about clarifications of the rules, ask away. Definitely make sure you get your questions answered, and they will do their best to help you out.
Yeah. I think everything else are very specific questions that can be asked of a program officer or contracting officer.
Okay, let me just give a quick skim here. Some questions about citizens and ownership in companies. Can a non-U.S. citizen but a legal resident be the offerer for an SBIR? And so you don't want to, there's 2 things you don't want to confuse. The ownership of the company and the principal investigator employment. The ownership of the small business needs to be majority U.S. citizens or permanent residents. But the PI does not have to be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident. They do have to be able to legally work in the U.S. and they have to have primary employment to small business. But citizenship is not required to be the PI. Why don't we have STTR contracts? STTR is a small program. It's mainly held up by our grants program, and contracts are a little bit better suited for when the small business is going to do most of the work. Specific questions we're going to pass. Let's see here. If you don't get specific formatting details on parts of it in the instructions, then you can do what you need to do to fill it out in terms of bios and things like that. There's some questions about other fast tracks. So if you apply for a fast track, which is a phase 1 and a phase 2, are you locked in for the phase 2 if you get the fast track? Do you have to complete the phase 1 deliverables before you get the phase 2? So if you're applying for a fast track, that is your indication to us that you fully intend to do the entire project phase 1 and 2. And of course, yes, you actually have to complete the phase 1 successfully, and your deliverables have to be accepted by the institute before they would give you the phase 2 or release the phase 2 money. So if you, and our goal is that these products get commercialized, which typically is going to take phase 2, and if not beyond, an additional, types of financing. So if you are looking at a topic and you're not able to do the phase 2, but only the phase 1, you really want to have a discussion and get some advice. You shouldn't be putting in for work you have no intention of doing in the end. Questions about if we don't do a fast track, do we submit the phase 1 and 2 at the same time? No. If you're only submitting a phase 1, you submit that. The way the phase 2 a regular phase 2 works is that within the institute and the topic, the institute contracting officer will contact all the phase 1 awardee contractors when they're ready for accepting phase 2 proposals and give you all the information and material you need to prepare and submit a phase 2 application proposal. if you're coming the regular phase 1 route. For phase 1 evaluations, how critical is the commercial potential business proposal at the proof of concept stage for very new ideas? I would direct you to take a look at section 6, which describes the method of evaluation and talks about the different review criteria and the percentage of weights. It's an important part of both phase 1 and 2, the commercial potential, and the weighting is, and the questions that will be asked of the technical reviewers are listed in section 6. Do we see anything else that is striking out at us? I will say, I see one more popped in. Give me a second. So this webinar is being recorded, including this Q&A. So the slides, the recording, the transcript will be posted on our website within a week or two, within a few days, actually, within a week. The Q&A amendment will come out within September. So let's see. Do all phase 1 contracts have the opportunity to progress to phase 2? So if you win a phase 1 contract, you will have the opportunity to apply for phase 2. You may, depending, but you have to, of course, do well in the phase 1. Will participation in I-Corps improve your evaluation of the proposal? No, that's going to be based on the technical things you put into the proposal. It's an I-Corps option. We encourage it if it's available to you. But that's a separate process on top of the phase 1. Questions will be published. We will publish the amendment with the Q&A. The deadline's August 31st. We have to collect all the information. It'll be out by mid-September, and it'll be out at least 4 weeks before October 22nd. So our goal is to get it out the week of September 10th or 17th. It'll be published in FedBizOps on our website everywhere. It'll be a long document with questions and answered by topic in all these areas. And so we will do our best to get that out as quickly as we can. And so with that, I want to thank all of you for attending. I want to thank all of our institute and agency panelists, thank our contracting officers, and thank Patty for keeping all of the webinar up and running for you today. And with that, I will bid you all a good day. Thank you. This concludes the webinar.